Welcome back to the Ag Creators Podcast. This episode is just Jack and I. We're going to be talking about what we're seeing in social media, what we've been working on, the challenges, and why we think you, as a farmer or as a business owner, should be getting into social media. Let's hop into it. Jack and I have been on the road. It's the summer. There's a lot going on in the farming industry and agriculture. Jack, what have you been working on lately?
It's been a fun summer, and so I've been trying to hit every state in the South and see rice and cotton and all this. You see corn and beans everywhere, which is cool, but it's cool to see the rice and the cotton and all that. And it's been a fun summer. It's been super busy, but we're trying to do stuff. We're trying to mix it up this summer because I feel like we kind of get in a rut with the social media and content stuff. And so this summer, I've kind of made it a personal challenge. Let's try and mix it up, and which is super hard because you get used to sharing the same stuff and then it just gets easy. Being more intentional and sharing just different stuff is hard, but it's been a fun summer.
Yeah, for me, lately I've been doing a lot of drone spraying, and so it's been a really big learning curve, especially because there wasn't many people around us or friends of mine that have been doing drones for very long. It's kind of new, and there's a lot to learn there. So we've been doing some of our acres on the farm here, and corn and soybeans and alfalfa, and it's been a big learning experience, but I've really enjoyed getting to know what's happening. And the coolest part about the drones is everyone's really excited to learn about them too. So saying what I've learned so far has been good, to talk to other farmers, other people in the industry about things that we're doing to test how drones are performing on our operation. And it turns out that they've been doing pretty well for the situations that we put them in, and for us being more of a beginner on drones. I know how to fly a drone, but a spray drone's a different story.
So how are y'all using them? Are y'all using them to replace an airplane or a sprayer, or are y'all kind of using it to complement them?
In our operations, we're using drone to complement an airplane or a helicopter because we farm a lot more acres than what we think one drone could get across. Now, if we had multiple drones, this could be a different story, but we're using them to fly fields that are smaller, fields that have different challenges like power lines or trees, or maybe they're too close to an airport for a plane to fly, but a drone is just outside the range where it could actually fly up to 400 feet, which that's plenty high for a spray drone since we're running 10 to 12, 13 feet above the crop. So we've been mixing up the drone with the helicopter or the plane. And so that's worked out well for us. And it gives us an opportunity to test one versus the other. And they've both been performing pretty well in our area.
That's pretty neat. The spray drones, it's cool to see the technology. And even in just technology and sprayers, it's cool to see where the technology's come from 5 years ago to where we are now.
Yeah, the technology is going to keep evolving, especially in the spray drones. They just released one that has 10 more gallons of holding capacity than the drone that we have. And I assume that this is going to continually happen over the next few years, and the spray drones will just continue to get bigger and bigger. Now, eventually the cost is going to be a ridiculous amount. Right now it's still expensive, but nothing compared to a traditional sprayer. But I think as the drones get bigger, they're just gonna keep getting more expensive. But the technology has been improving each year on them. I mean, the spray drone started out with 1 gallon tanks, and now the one we have is 16-gallon tank. And the next one that's coming out is a 26-gallon tank. So I think eventually they'll be at 50, 100-gallon tanks, and those drones are going to be massive when they come out. And it's exciting to see the evolution of the spray drone market because I have my own pilot's license to spray on my farm, so we can do some of the work ourselves. We can spray different things whenever we want to. We're not waiting on anyone else to come and spray our farm. We can do it ourselves, and we don't have to have a giant plane or a spray rig for that, and we can get it done with our spray drone.
That's pretty neat. I spent some time in Tennessee last week, and they were using the John Deere See and Spray. And you've heard of it, people hear about it, and I've heard about it, but I never seen it in the field, running. And we're looking at the ops center and then looking at it in the field, and it was super cool to see the technology on them, and that the cameras will pinpoint the weed and only spray that weed, and then you can go back in Op Center and you can look at where it's sprayed. And so like they were having 60-70% savings just by using that. And obviously that's not gonna replace, that's not gonna be a standard practice on the farm, but it's another tool in the toolbox. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, there's a lot of different tools on the farm, and people that aren't even farmers are very curious about them as well. And so that's why we want to share what we're doing and share the experiences that we're having, and and seeing the different challenges out there in farming and sharing them on social media, especially different things with the spray drones. I don't think that they're 100% the answer yet for just one spray drone, but for example, if we had a swarm of them, we could get a lot more acres done, and it would be much more feasible to be able to spray thousands and thousands of acres. Just like the See and Spray technology is also super cool, and people don't really know about that aren't in farming. Some of these intricacies that are coming in the industry, it's really evolving, and technology has been helping a lot. There's a lot of cool technology that is coming and is already out there in the industry, so it's pretty cool.
That's what I've tried to put a focus on for the longest time. And when I started, I didn't know, and I still don't know much, but like when I started, I didn't know any of the technology. I mean, I knew it was there, but like if you asked me about it, I had no idea. But one of the things that I've really tried to focus on this year is explaining it in a way that people not in the ag industry can really see it and understand it. Because farmers, they understand all this technology, but our goal is to share, and my goal is to share all this to somebody who's buying bread at the grocery store, and how, you know, farmers are using this technology to be more efficient and to get over more acres a day and all that, just to be more profitable, but also just to get more done in a day. And it's really hard to put it in a way that people outside the farm can really just understand it, because I don't understand it fully. And so that's the first step. And when we had Ag with Emma on, she kind of talked about how getting in the ag industry, you know, you have to fully understand it before you go explain it to somebody. And that's something people my age who we're ambitious and we want to go like tell farmers stories, that's great, but first you have to really understand it. And so I've been trying to spend a lot of time with farmers this summer behind the scenes, like, all right, what does this do? Like, and it's really helpful when I film videos with them for different companies, because they're explaining it on camera and then I can ask questions after. But I've been trying to spend a lot of time this summer focused on learning about it, and then we can go tell their story and show how they're using the technology.
Jack, so in your opinion, because you haven't grown up on a farm, you don't know as much, you didn't go to school for agronomy or in agriculture, what have you found has been the biggest eye-opening factor or fact that you learned that you did not know about before?
Probably how much biology is such a focus, and not necessarily just, you know, plant biology, but these farmers that are applying different fertility passes of like boron and calcium and all this stuff that's very, like, I knew nitrogen, potassium, you know, all that, like, all right, they're going to broadcast it or something. But when you start working with farmers that are Y-dropping and they're using this product to put out this, and I mean, it's like they're chemists basically. And I had no idea how in depth they went into, and it makes sense, but I had no idea how in depth they went into chemistry and the biology of the plant. It's pretty cool. So we started this podcast with the goal of, you know, telling farmer stories, and the medium for that is photography and social media. And so why do you think photography is such a strong medium or powerful way to tell farmer stories?
You know, a lot of people that are posting on social media, it's posting the best possible picture of a tractor or a field, which looks great and helps share what farmers are seeing every day, but there's a lot more to that. Getting into a farmer's life, farmer's story, and videoing them, taking them through the day-to-day is really a different side of the farming industry that you as a consumer might not think about. For example, when we were talking with Talon about cherries, he talks about cherries in the store that literally were produced a few miles away from the grocery store in his area since he's producing them. And people in the grocery store, it's not a common practice to look at where this food's coming from, because you just assume that it's from somewhere close, from somewhere local, obviously, if it's in the grocery store, but it could be from all over the world. And there's products from the US too. So it's looking at where that product is actually coming from and where that farmer is. So that's why Talon likes to talk about his story, because he's close to the consumer of cherries, and he can talk about what he's doing on his farm to help produce the best quality cherries for the consumer into the grocery store. And that's why I feel so strongly about social media and videoing and being on the farm and showing the challenges, what you actually have to go through as a farmer to produce a crop so valuable and delicate as cherries.
How do you think we've both been doing this social media stuff for 2-3 years. How do you think it's changed since we started?
Honestly, the biggest thing that I've seen since I started doing it, honestly, only a couple years ago, when I started doing social media for agriculture, is there's a lot of people posting on social media. And so posting your own way or your own experiences is what sets you apart from other people. Telling the real stories, having your own perspective and having your own style on social media has really helped different individuals really grow and thrive on social media. And it just takes a person with wanting to talk about what's real and what's actually happening and the truth, and informing other people, consumers and other farmers, about what's going on the farm, what they're doing, and help teaching other people about their operation. Not that everyone has to know everything about agriculture, but other people are curious about what they're doing. So telling that side and responding to people about their good comments and trying to flush out all the negative people is also a big part of it. What are you seeing, Jack? What do you find from the past couple of years to now, what social media has been like?
I think it's been, being authentic. And you kind of touched on that. But when it started, I feel like a lot of people got drone stuff and flew the drone and just cool tractor videos, which is, I love doing that. That's great. And that gets a lot of views. But I feel like in the last year or two, people have really focused more on the behind the scenes of agriculture, not necessarily just the tractors. Because, farmers do so much more than drive a tractor. The shop work and the cleaning out grain bins and stuff like that. I feel like you see more of that on Instagram now, or just people who record selfie videos with their phone talking about what's going on at the farm, which is really cool because if you weren't around agriculture, you have no idea what goes on a farm. It's not like other industries where they're more well known. Agriculture, some people who aren't in agriculture probably think farmers are guys with pitchforks, and a cow next to them. Like, they don't know the technology. They don't know the chemistry background that they have to grow a healthy crop. And so, I don't know. I think it's really cool to see people post all the aspects of agriculture just to show, like, hey, farmers are really well educated. It's hard work. It's not, a farmer with a guy with a pitchfork, with some hay.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I learned from posting just in the past couple of years is that you don't have to post the coolest, craziest thing on the farm. Even you just mentioned that, talking about grain bins and grain bin clean out, it's interesting to some people to hear about what's happening on the farm and not the coolest, biggest combine in the field going, which is awesome and cool to see, but just the super simple cleaning videos or different aspects of the farm that you don't hear about as often are interesting to a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, I'm a senior in college, and so I'm about to graduate, and I want to do this full time. And so I have a handful of clients that I work with doing the photography and social media stuff, and they get caught up in they do this every day. And so, like, let's say spraying. They're going to go spray soybeans, let's say for a week, for a herbicide pass or something like that. They do it every day, and so it's so monotonous to them, and it's like, it's just another day. But that's the kind of stuff that people are curious about. Like, it might be super monotonous, and you might do it every day from the farmer's point of view, but from the consumer point of view, they find that interesting. And so it's super hard for farmers, they get caught up in, oh, this is normal. I've done this all my life. But at the same time, the average consumer at the grocery store, they find it interesting. It's not always about the coolest piece of equipment, like you said, or something like that.
So switching gears, a crazy part about the egg industry is that it's rural areas, not in big cities or big towns. And so when you're out filming or taking videos or pictures in the middle of the countryside and then posting that on social media, there's thousands of people that could see that. And before social media, they wouldn't see that at all. And so what do you find is something cool or challenge about filming or being out in the countryside in a rural area while filming agriculture?
That's one of my favorite parts about agriculture is you can be like you're going where everybody else doesn't really go unless they work in the industry. And so like before the podcast, we were talking about some of the stuff some of the fun trips that we had planned this fall with harvest and getting content. And where I'm going to go down to Louisiana and it's to film sugarcane. And it's one of those things that like the average person at the grocery store would, if they're going to go to Louisiana, they probably aren't going to go to a sugarcane field. They might drive by one, but they probably aren't going to stop and like, oh, that's sugarcane. And so I feel like that's just a neat way to use social media and all this technology. With my phone, I can reach however many people on it, whoever's on Instagram. And so you have a way to connect. And granted, it takes a lot of work and yet, it's not like you can just get on your phone and, oh, I have 1 million followers. Like, I wish that's how it worked. But you have the medium to reach so many people if you use it right. And so being able to show people and connect people to, like, when they drive by a field, it's like, oh, wait, I saw that on Instagram. That's wheat they're harvesting or something like that. Just connecting dots. But it's also kind of challenging because, you don't have a whole lot of cell service sometimes, which is frustrating when you work in like social media stuff.
Yeah, you just got to wait to post those until you get back home and get some Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
So how do you approach, since you work with many different people and across many different states, how do you approach different farmers and introduce them to the fact about telling their story and when maybe they haven't been behind a camera or talked to a camera at all?
That's the hardest part. And you know this very well. The farmers are not our generation, but the average farmer, the average age for a farmer is probably 50 or 60 probably. And they aren't into the whole social media thing. Like you tell them about social media and they usually kind of chuckle and it's like, oh yeah, we don't need that. So convincing some farmers to use social media, it takes a while. And like there's been some times where I've really wanted to work with a farmer. They have a really cool operation. Like I think it would do really good on social media, just telling their story. But it takes like 6 months of convincing him, and not every day calling him, hey, you should do social media, but just kind of every time you're around him, every couple of weeks, like kind of put that bug in his ear, and like he'll think about it, and then finally you'll get a call like, hey, I think we need to do this social media stuff. And so it takes a while. But I'm sure you've seen that just as much. Traveling with Ag PhD, I'm sure you've come across farmers that are very hesitant to social media or being on camera.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the biggest pushbacks that we get, which I want to hear your perspective on this, is after you get them to talk to the camera and be authentic and be comfortable around the camera, what does that change for them going in the future? What do you see after they start talking to the camera and being authentic?
They open up a lot more. It's kind of like pulling a Band-Aid off. They don't want to be on camera, but then when you finally get them on camera and you show them like the video from the camera, but also like, hey, let me edit this and send it to you tomorrow, like so you can see it. And once you kind of put some B-roll on it and make it look good, they open up to it a lot more. But at the same time, the people that are, I think, most interested in farming in the ag industry with the content creation are the people that's our age, that are kind of stepping up into leadership roles on the farm, or they're going to be the next generation to take it over. I feel like those are the ones who enjoy the social media and see the value of it a lot more. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's outliers on both sides of it, but I think there's a lot more younger people that are doing it because they enjoy posting on social media, or they find taking drone videos are interesting and cool to do themselves, like me, and then you just post it because you already took the video and you made it. So it's pretty fun. And then once you start getting in some questions from non-farmers or even other farmers about what you're doing on the farm after you start posting stuff, then it's just interesting because it's kind of bringing people through your life a little bit and sharing what you've been learning and what you're doing on the farm, and maybe that'll help someone else too. So that's why I like doing it too.
So what do you think, we talk about content creation and like a brand and stuff like that. What do you think why do you think farmers and companies in general need to focus on social media and like building a brand and like creating a following on social media?
I think there's a few different reasons. One of the big things that our generation, I don't know about you, but for me, when I'm trying to find something new or that I want to try, the first place I look is social media. And it's going to give me some reviews or some videos or talk about that product or place or whatever thing I'm looking to get or to try out. I just go to social media, and that's a great search engine for it because you're getting authentic, real posts. And when you're posting as a farmer or a brand about whatever product I'm looking for, it just makes it feel way more authentic and like it's a good product or a good place to go or whatever it is. And just seeing it on social media just helps connect the dots because it feels more real. When you see, websites, all the other things are all good, but if you have all of that, plus you have a good social media presence, it just helps build traction with consumers. I don't know about the older generation right now doing that, but for us coming up, it's going to be a huge part of every industry, but especially in agriculture because there's a lot of misinformation about everything, every product, every place, and setting the story straight on your own social media or for a company's social media, talking about the products and talking about the things that people are saying negative about it and talking about it right away on social media is just good, and it will help build that brand going forward, is in my opinion.
Well, and I think it's really important for hiring and not necessarily, hey, I need to hire somebody, let's start an Instagram account. But long term, if two companies were going to come to me and ask me like, hey, can you come work for us or we need help, I would much rather go to the one that has an online presence compared to one that looks like they're living in 1960, which and I feel like our generation, that's going to be more and more common is people like, I would much rather go work for a company that puts focus on social media and telling their story and they're and you don't have to be well known because there's plenty of companies out there that don't have social media that are well known, but it just helps. I don't know, it gets your name out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it. There's some negatives to it as well. Like, obviously, it's more work and you don't get instant results and stuff like that. But that's just part of marketing. You don't get instant results on good campaigns, too, because it just builds that brand over time. And, for example, just because you have good social media versus not having a social media at all, just because you don't have a good social media doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad company or anything on that lines. It just, when you see someone out there and see some of their employees on social media, it gives you a representation or helps give you confidence that it's a good place to work potentially, or that they have good products or good work-life balance and all of those different things. So it just seems to be more important going forward, I think, to at least have some sort of social media, and especially talking authentically on social media. So if you have the CEO or some agronomists or salespeople or some or even HR, whatever, someone working for the company talking about just things that are happening in the company, it seems insignificant, but eventually it builds the brand and it helps out in the long run.
So what advice would you give to a farmer or even a business owner who they realize they should, but they don't know where to start?
I think the first place to start is, one, if you don't have social media accounts, to create social media accounts. And I would just start small, start easy. And the content does not need to be perfect. That's the biggest misconception, I feel like, right away starting on social media. Oh, I don't know how to do it. I want it to be perfect. I'm never going to post because it needs to be perfect. That's not the case at all. Even if you look back at the Egg PhD social media, which has on TikTok like 60,000 followers now. If you look back at my first videos on there, They're not very good at all, and they're not perfect. And it's
Well, and that's with
completely
anybody.
different from now. Yeah, every
If
single
you look
person.
at if you look at mine and your personal Instagrams going back, like I'd hate to see what I posted the first time, because it's just you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, it's all about starting somewhere, and the key is to just be authentic on how you want to post on social media. If you want to selfie style, hold your phone and talk to it about something that's going on the farm, do that. If you want to post different drone shots or different B-roll shots, post that. If you want to post voiceover videos, do that. And you can try them all out right away. It doesn't have to be set in stone to start with. But if there's anything that you find interesting on social media as a brand or as just a consumer, starting with that is great because you have excitement for it and you're interested in that topic, in that style. And that's how I think anyone could start. And there's a lot to learn when you start posting on social media, so you just got to start.
So let me ask you this, and this is kind of off topic from the social media, but where do you see it going with AI and all of that in terms of social media?
So it looks like.
Do you think it's beneficial or bad or worse?
I think there's parts of it that can be beneficial, but at the same time, people are going to start seeing, oh, that's AI or that's completely made from AI. Right now, there's some that's AI and some that's not. So sometimes it can be hard to differentiate from them. I mean, if you're really paying attention, you can check it out. But once more people think, oh, I just got to only do AI or use AI, then it's going to take away from the authentic side of it. But then when people start to do authentic stuff still, then people are going to gravitate towards the real people that are actually posting themselves and actually being authentic and not making it all AI. And so there's going to be a switch, I feel like, because there's more people using AI now, but I feel like the people that are being authentic and saying what's going on and not using it completely to make their content, they're going to shine out from the rest, is how I feel. What do you think, Jack?
I think AI is great, but I think it's more important now than ever to be authentic. I mean, it's great AI is cool in regards to like it speeds up, stuff that you do, or it's like an accountant, which is great, but the video stuff, it's important to be authentic, and it's kind of like hitting the easy button, I guess, with AI. Like, it's cool to have AI make a little video, but in the long run, you want to be authentic and you want to tell farmer stories. And AI's, you don't want AI to get in the way of somebody trusting your video to tell farmer stories. And there's so much stuff out there that we can, video and tell farmer stories. And there's so many farmers out there. And so, I mean, sure, AI can help, but I don't think, if you use it as a way to replace your video or your content, then I feel like that's kind of, hitting the easy button out.
Yeah, and I think...
But it's just important to be authentic.
Yeah, I think people would start to realize that it's AI. But honestly,
it's
a lot
pretty
of
easy
farmers...
to tell.
Yeah, but a lot of farmers aren't really doing that. It's probably more
Yeah.
in other industries. But in the ag industry, just being authentic, obviously, is pretty important, especially when it comes to anything you're doing on the farm or people have questions and stuff like that. That's how I feel on our farm, at least.
Yeah. What do you think is one thing that, like, let's say somebody's in, ag creators and content creators, what's one thing that you think they should be doing right now to help their social media?
In my opinion, it's doubling down on the content that's performing well for you. But if you are just starting out or you don't have very many videos, you can do whatever. You just need to get some reps in on posting and making videos. But if you are starting to gain some followers and you're curious about what you should be doing, well, look at the content that's been performing the best for you and trying to do more of that. Plus, still experimenting with different types of videos in case some other thing hits well and some other things don't. But honestly, social media has been changing a lot where just posting good quality content, regardless of the style of it, is probably going to do well. It's the better content, the more quality content that you can put out is going to do better, in my opinion. But it takes time, and some videos do well that you don't know if they're going to do well, and the opposite also goes. Some videos that you put a lot of work into might not perform as well as you think, but it's all about putting in those reps and just seeing what's doing well. And honestly, if you don't care about followers or anything, you just want to post out good content, well, then just post what you like to post about and then you'll enjoy doing social media for the long run.
I think it's consistency and be confident too. One of the things that looking back at where I started, and I wish I was better at this, I've been consistent in the last 2 years, but when I started, I wasn't. And just being consistent in posting and being confident because I used to hate being on camera, and I still don't like being on camera, but you can't do social media stuff without being on camera. And I don't post a lot of me on camera, but if you can just be confident and consistent in your stuff and your content that you're putting out, that you're already ahead of the game.
Yeah, confidence is key for a lot of things. Wanting to post, being okay with posting, blocking out haters or negative comments. It's all
because you'll have people that don't like it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's important, but it definitely isn't right away. You're learning about it. You're just choosing to be more confident as you continue to post and get more comfortable behind the camera. But it all just takes you starting.
But we wanted to come on and talk about some of the stuff that we saw that was working, and it might not work for you, but we kind of wanted to talk about what we were seeing and some of the stuff that we have going on. And so obviously we didn't have a guest today, but we have some exciting guests lined up in the next couple weeks. But thank y'all for listening. And we have, you can follow us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of those. But be sure to give us your rating and tell us how we're doing on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or even reach out if you have somebody that you want to have on the podcast. But until next time, y'all stay tuned.